Hi guys, this is Paul with Tweaktown. We're continuing our coverage here at Storage Visions 2014. Right now we're sitting down with Randy Martineau from Oracle, and he is he's involved in their enterprise storage sales, and today they're showing some of their solutions over in their booth. So Randy, if you want to give us kind of a rundown of what you guys are displaying today, that'd be great.
So, thank you, Paul. Yeah, I'm part of the enterprise storage group with Oracle, and we're here at the Storage Visions conference to basically highlight some of our archival solutions. In the core of that are some of our robotic and tape solutions. So one of the items we're highlighting today is our latest robotic system, an SL150. It's a very modular system, starts at 75 terabytes,
wow,
up to 750 terabytes in one rack. It's plug and play. Kind of designed a little bit more for the SMB business, where we haven't been as strong in the past. Oracle is known in storage tech,
absolutely,
you know that name,
yeah,
in the enterprise tape area for 30 plus years with innovation and leadership, the first robotic system in the marketplace. On the other end of the spectrum, the enterprise side, we have library systems that scale up to exabytes of data.
Absolutely.
And instead of using a standard LTO drive, which we do in all of our libraries. As a matter of fact, we allow for LTO and our proprietary high performance, high capacity T10000D drive. Excellent. Which instead of the LTO 6, current drive being at 2.5 terabytes uncompressed, yep, we are talking 8.5 terabytes.
Wow.
On our T10000D.
Right. So to give our viewers a little bit of perspective, it starts at 75 terabytes. Is that what size of U rack is that? That would just for
that would be a 1U subsystem.
1U, you can pack 75 terabytes, yep, of data in there. Exactly. That is amazing.
Yeah.
And it scales to how many in one server rack?
750 terabytes would be 10U. Yeah. It's a phenomenal, easy, and low-cost system, which I hate to say, but it truly is. It truly is cost-effective.
And that is one of the redeeming qualities of tape solutions is once you store it, it's stored in, as you were referring to earlier, it doesn't require any power to store it. It sits there.
No power nor cooling, and I like to say to my customers, tape is cool. Right?
Absolutely.
It's a tough message because there have been a lot of vendors that have been, given the message that tape is not so cool. Tape is kind of old school. Tape is out of fashion, and there are better solutions, but there really aren't cheaper solutions.
Yeah, so we've heard that, and I kind of wanted to get your, a little bit of your impressions on that. We've been speaking about, or people have, long before I was born, 50 plus years tape has been around. Right. It seemed to weather the storms, and it continues to evolve even today. So what would you say to those detractors who don't, maybe not necessarily understand tape as well as they should?
Yeah, it's a message I think most IT management and C-level management need to understand. The idea of archiving data or nearline archiving or tiering data is alive and well, because what are we all talking about in this industry today is this explosion of data. Everyone has their version of the message, but 20 bazillion zettabytes by the year 2020, whatever it is, most data centers are growing from anywhere from 20 to 50% per annum in their data. Absolutely. IT budgets are not growing at that rate. Personnel budgets are not growing at that rate. So customers have to find ways to store data more effectively. So the fact of the matter is that tape is a far more effective methodology for storing data that needs long-term retention, whether that be compliance, whether that be big data analytics, whether that be government regulation, whatever the need is. Most companies are keeping data for 7 years, sometimes for life. Medical industry, we're looking at patient life plus 20 years. So there is a need for retaining this data for longer periods, while at the same time it's exploding on an annual rate, exponentially. To add to that, I would reference a study by the Clipper Group. Clipper Group in 2011 did a study on the long-term benefits of tape versus disk.
Absolutely, that's usually what people are.
Not an Oracle-sponsored study of any sort, just a study done by the Clipper Group. What they found was the TCO for a disk subsystem was 12x higher for storing that data on disk over a tape subsystem.
Wow.
So I'd like to add to that that will probably continue for the foreseeable future, simply because the areal density, the amount of data you can put on an inch of, let's say, tape versus the comparable space on a disk platter, Tape will continue to grow at a per annum rate of 40%. Disk is kind of eking out smaller and smaller growth just from the sheer physics. You know, we had
they're getting that point of diminishing returns.
Exactly, and it's just the current technology. So we're going to continue to see tape accelerate and its cost benefit over disk. I mentioned this was a 2011 study. The one I have in front of me is a 2013 study.
Oh, really?
Done by Clipper Group. Once again, which really displays what I just talked about, that tape is going to continue to outpace disk in its TCO benefit. This study, same type of study, long-term retention of data, showed a 26x.
Wow.
Higher
so
cost.
This gap is becoming wider.
It's going to be
instead of getting smaller.
Exactly, and for the foreseeable future, because that areal density we just talked about, tape will continue to exceed disk for the foreseeable future.
And one aspect I think a lot of people don't take into consideration as well is disks are complex machines. There's moving parts: heads, platters, spinners, motors, actuators, attenuators. I could continue, accelerometers. Everything in there is very complex design, so there are risks for of course component failure. And with tape, it's relatively static, and the devices where you actually store them are relatively simple in effect.
Very simple, yet a lot of ingenuity and technology and engineering has gone into making sure that data
it's just reliable.
Is reliable. And if you looked at the numbers from an uncorrectable bit error rate, kind of an industry standard in regards to how we measure the stability of data, you'll find that on a disk subsystem, it's at 10 to the minus 17 when you'll get an uncorrectable bit error.
And some are even 10 to minus 15 now with the less reliable drive.
Less reliable. I was about to add that myself, but you're on top of it, Paul.
Yep.
So tape currently stands at 10 to the minus 19.
Wow.
So I'm not a math guy, but I do know it's 2 orders of magnitude higher,
Absolutely.
and that's substantial.
1,000 times gain per notch. You're jumping 1,000 times.
Yeah, we're talking about billions and billions of bytes before you would ever perceivably have an error rate. And that's another issue I'd like to just address quickly. Customers have concerns about, if I put data on tape and I store it for 10 years, 20 years, a lifetime, I mean, how do I know the data is good? So we at Oracle and Storage Tech have come up with some analytic software, which not only monitors the library and the robots and the drives and the media on a day-to-day basis, looking for potential errors before they happen, but we can also do something we call data integrity validation. This is where we add a CRC to every block of data.
A little bit of parity in there.
Yeah. Exactly. And so now that we've got the CRC built in with the data,
you have redundant data as part of your solution.
Correct.
At a really high
and
density.
We can take our analytics software and say, hey, if you haven't used that tape for a year, or read it, or retrieved it, you could set the rules. You could make it 2 years, 5 years, whatever you like. Go out there and do an integrity check on that. So not only can our system just check to see the tape's there, that it's readable, but we can actually go down to the block level and say, is that block I wrote 10 years ago the block that I have here today? So I mean, it's some incredible value.
And it can self-heal itself in that manner if there is an issue.
And not only that, but it's sitting out. This does not require intervention by your IT staff. Does not require intervention by your servers. It is done between our analytics software and the tape library without
that's
potentially
pretty
any
impressive.
overhead. It is impressive because customers that have long-term retention needs demand it.
Absolutely. Right? Well, that sounds like it's pretty compelling tech, and prior to what people have said, tape is still living and kicking and getting better every day.
Tape is cool.
Yeah, we appreciate your time. Thanks for stopping by. Thank you.